When the Wren family pulled up to the rust-colored Victorian house, the sky above seemed to hang just a little too still. Sarah Wren stepped out first, cradling a box of books and dreams, while Daniel joked about the creaky porch steps. Their daughter Lily, only 7, stood quietly by the gate, staring at the attic window with wide, unblinking eyes. The house had stood empty for decades, its lace curtains brittle with age, its wood groaning under time's weight. But it was affordable, big and hidden in a sleepy town with no traffic, no noise, and no crime. A perfect place to start fresh. Inside. Dust danced in shafts of golden light, and the air carried the scent of aged wallpaper and something else. Something faint and musty, something hard to name. Still, the family laughed as they unpacked boxes, dragging the past into their new beginning. That night, as the house settled into its own midnight rhythm, Sarah lay awake listening to the ticking of the hallway clock. Then came a faint sound like someone softly humming from above. She nudged Daniel, who only mumbled in his sleep. Moments later, Lily's voice echoed from her bedroom across the hall. "Mommy, the girl in the attic is singing again." Sarah froze. They hadn't even opened the attic yet. The attic remained locked. Daniel had tried the handle on their first day. It wouldn't budge, and he chalked it up to old wood and rusted hinges. "We'll deal with it later," he said. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the door wasn't stuck. It was meant to stay closed. Within the week, subtle disturbances began to take root. Footsteps, soft, dragging, could be heard from the ceiling during the quietest hours of the night. Light thumps, almost like someone pacing slowly overhead. Each time Daniel went up with a flashlight and stepladder, he found nothing out of place. Just a locked door and silence. Lily was the first to speak openly. At breakfast, she whispered, "Margaret doesn't like the sunlight. She only comes out when it's dark." Sarah blinked. "Who's Margaret?" Lily looked puzzled, chewing her cereal. "The girl who sings to me from the attic." Sarah exchanged a glance with Daniel, who only smirked and shrugged. "Imaginary friends, it's a big, spooky house, it's normal." But at WASN, single quotes, T. Sarah started noticing cold spots in the hallway leading to the attic stairs, even though the rest of the house stayed warm. At night, she would sit at her desk, trying to write, when a chill would crawl across her skin, and that same melody, soft and distant, would rise from the ceiling beams. A child's tune. Uneven, off key. One evening, Sarah caught Lily standing on the stairs, staring at the attic door in complete stillness. "Lily?" she asked gently. Her daughter turned, face pale. "She's lonely up there," Lily said. "She said you remind her of her mother." The name Margaret echoed in Sarah's mind like a whisper that refused to fade. She couldn't ignore the strange occurrences anymore, the humming, the footsteps, the cold that seeped from beneath the attic door. And Lily, once a bright, playful child, was changing. She'd become withdrawn, often seen mumbling to herself or drawing disturbing images. A small girl in a white dress, always in the attic, always alone, determined to find answers. Sarah visited the town library. The librarian, a frail woman with nervous eyes, hesitated when Sarah mentioned their address. "That house has history," she said in a low tone. "Not one most people like to remember." Digging through old newspapers and property records, Sarah stumbled upon a faded article from 1934. The headline read, "Child found dead in locked attic. Authorities. Suspect neglect." Her name was Margaret Eleanor Price, 8 years old. The article detailed that Margaret had been hidden away by her parents, kept out of sight due to her unusual behavior. They claimed she was sick. She was never allowed outside. One winter, she simply disappeared. Sarah's blood ran cold. She returned, home with a heaviness in her chest. That night, driven by something between fear and guilt, she climbed the narrow steps to the attic door. The old brass knob felt colder than ice. As she touched it, she heard a faint giggle on the other side. The next day, she found an old black and white photograph wedged behind a crack in the hallway wall. It showed a girl standing by the attic window, staring down, pale face, hollow eyes, and Lily. Lily was now humming the exact same tune Margaret once sang. A lullaby long, lost to time. The air inside the house grew heavier with each passing day. What began as whispers and humming turned into voices whispers that said names. Sarah's name, Daniel's, and most often Lily's. Objects began moving on their own. A music box Sarah had never seen before appeared in Lily's room, sitting neatly on her pillow. It played Margaret's lullaby when wound, even though it had no key. Daniel finally began to worry. He insisted they were all just stressed that they needed sleep. But that night, he woke to find Lily standing at the foot of their bed. Her eyes were open, but her expression was blank. She says you don't believe her, Lily whispered. That's why she's angry now. Sarah's patience cracked. She climbed to the attic again, this time with a screwdriver and a flashlight. The lock gave way after some struggle. Inside was a space untouched by time, dusty, silent, and deathly cold. Toys were strewn across the floor, old-fashioned dolls. A broken chair, child-sized handprints on the walls, made in something that had long since turned a deep, reddish-brown dot. She shone her flashlight upward and saw its scratches carved into the wooden beam above. One word, over and over again, let me out. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her. The light flickered. A cold breath passed by her ear. And then, from the shadows, a voice clear and trembling spoke. You took my place. The attic held its breath. Sarah stood frozen, her back pressed to the locked door, heart thudding like a warning drum. In her chest, you took my place. The voice was faint like a wind chime in a storm, but it was close. Too close. Shaking, Sarah turned slowly, sweeping her flashlight across the attic. The beam caught on something in the far corner. Just beyond the beam's reach stood the figure of a little girl. She wore a tattered white nightdress. Her hair fell over her face like a veil. She didn't move. She didn't blink. Sarah whispered, Margaret. The girl lifted her head. Her eyes weren't angry. They were empty, endless pits of sorrow. Her mouth trembled, and when she spoke, it wasn't rage. It was pain. They forgot me. They locked me here. I waited so long. The light flickered again. The air grew heavy. And then Margaret screamed, a soul-piercing sound that shattered every bit of stillness in the house. The walls trembled. The floor moaned. Sarah dropped the flashlight, plunging the attic into darkness. Downstairs, Daniel burst into Lily's room, but she was gone. He heard the scream too. It was coming from above. In the attic. Sarah crawled toward the door, clawing at the wood, trying to break free. But the room wouldn't let her go. It wanted her to feel what Margaret had felt. Trapped, forgotten, alone. Suddenly, the music box began to play its melody, distorted and warped. And from behind her, Margaret whispered again, "Now you'll understand." The attic held Sarah like a clenched fist tight, suffocating. Merciless dot, then dot, dot, dot. The screaming stopped. Only the soft click of the music box remained, spinning its twisted lullaby. Sarah, breathless and shaking, reached into her coat pocket and pulled out something she'd grabbed from the library earlier that day, a photocopy of Margaret's diary. A desperate voice written in pencil and tears. "I'm sorry, Sarah," said aloud, voice cracking. "I know what they did to you. It wasn't your fault. You were just a little girl." Silence, then a breeze. Cold, but no longer violent. The attic door creaked and slowly swung open on its own. Sarah looked up, and there stood Lily, holding the old photograph of Margaret. "She says she's tired," Lily said softly. "She just wanted someone to remember her." That night, with the help of a local priest, Sarah and Daniel performed a quiet cleansing ritual. No dramatic exorcisms, no spinning heads, just prayers, warmth, and forgiveness. Margaret's spirit never screamed again. The house fell silent, not cold, not cruel, just still. The music box was buried beneath the old oak in the backyard, along with the diary and photograph. A small wooden cross was placed above the soil. Lily returned to herself laughing, playing, drawing sunshine again. But sometimes when Sarah writes late at night, she hears it, a faint humming, barely audible. A song no one taught her, a memory. Or a think -. 6 months later, Sarah's book sat quietly on the shelf of a local bookstore. The Girl in the Attic, a fictional retelling, she told the publisher. But every word in its pages bled with truth. On the dedication page, "For Margaret, you were never meant to be forgotten." Life moved on. The house was warmer now. The walls no longer groaned at night. Lily slept peacefully. Daniel laughed more. And Sarah, she wrote again, without cold fingers brushing her shoulders or shadows moving just outside her vision. But one night, as rain tapped softly on the window, Sarah returned from the kitchen and froze in the hallway. The attic door was open. Just slightly. No wind, no draft, just open. From somewhere above, a soft, fragile sound floated down the stairs, humming. A lullaby. Not sad, not angry, just familiar. Sarah didn't move. She only smiled gently, whispered, "Good night, Margaret," and the door creaked shut. By itself.